Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going over an Izzet, Glint-Horn Buccaneer, and Malcolm combo deck. And this is a $50 budget deck. And make sure to subscribe so you see more budget videos like this or deck lists. And this is CEDH, so if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe and we'll hop right into it. So this deck involves a Kediss, Malcolm, and Glint-Horn combo. We'll jump right into that. So first you want on the field is Malcolm and Kediss. Kediss says whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. And Malcolm says whenever one or more parents you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. So with these paired in general, you can ramp off of Malcolm because you're dealing damage to your opponents. So you're going to be able to get 3 treasures per attack rather than just 1 off of Malcolm. So it's a good grind strategy, allow you to get constant ramp. And we'll jump right into what we need to do here to win the game. So first we will polymorph Kediss, which says destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. Its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. Player puts that card onto the battlefield and shuffles all other cards revealed this way into his or her library. So we're going to target Kediss with polymorph, and since we only have 1 creature in our deck, which is Glint-Horn Buccaneer, we're going to put it on the field, paired with Malcolm. So Glint-Horn Buccaneer has haste, and it says whenever you discard a card, Glint-Horn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then you're going to pay red in a colorless to discard a card, draw a card. Activate this ability only if Glint-Horn Buccaneer is attacking. So what we're going to do is activate Glint-Horn Buccaneer, and we're going to get a ping off of Glint-Horn because we discarded a card. And because of that, we're going to trigger Malcolm because we dealt 1 damage to each opponent, which will generate 3 treasure tokens for us. And then from those 3, we're going to be able to activate Glint-Horn again, discarding a card and drawing a card, and then pinging our opponents for 1, creating 3 treasure tokens, and repeating this process over and over until our opponents have 0 life. And we'll jump right into some of our polymorph effects to be able to make this more consistent. So first we have polymorph, of course. We have Reality Scramble, which says put target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a card type with that permanent. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So from there, we can polymorph Kediss once again. Luca does the same thing. With his -2, you can exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So from there, we can get Glint-Horn once again. Shifting Shadow is a new card from Champions of Kamigawa. It says enchanted creature has haste, and at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and attach Shifting Shadow to it. And put all of our other cards revealed this way onto the bottom of your library in a random order. So from here, we'll get an upkeep trigger on our next turn, and we should be able to get Glint-Horn on the field and win the game on that turn. Then Transmogrify does the same thing. Exile target creature. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. The player puts that card onto the battlefield and shuffles the rest into their library. So these are 5 polymorph effects that worked really well and will win you the game consistently. And now we'll jump into some of our draw and go strategy. We have Trail of Evidence that allows us to investigate whenever we cast an instant or sorcery spell. And we're going to be casting lots of them. And an Investigate token is a clue artifact token that has 2 colorless to sacrifice it to draw a card. So we can consistently make artifacts and draw cards from that. And it'll make the game a little longer, which we want if we can't find our polymorph effects. So we'll be drawing cards to find those. Teferi's Ageless Insight says whenever you draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So we'll be able to keep drawing cards and finding those polymorph effects. Wheel of Misfortune, a wheel. Windfall as well. Chart of Course, draw 2 cards, then discard a card unless you attack with a creature this turn. We're going to be attacking with Malcolm every turn if we can, to be able to get those treasures. Brainstorm, draw 3 cards and put 2 cards on the top of your hand on top of your library in any order. So just simple draw effects. There's a lot of cantrips and ways to draw cards to consistently get those polymorph effects without spending a lot of money on tutors to make this deck super expensive. So next we'll go into some of our interaction, which is a lot more on the deck list if you check it out. We have Spell Snare, counter target spell with converted mana cost 2. This will counter Thassa's Oracle. This will counter Tainted Pact, Dockside, a million others, Negate, a bunch of commanders, just anything you can think of. Demonic Tutor, and so on. And then we have Lightning Bolt, deals 3 damage to any target, just regular creature targeted removal in red. We have Suspend, exile target creature and put 2-time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So we can delay our opponents for their creatures, and it's pretty much a removal to allow us to endure the game longer if there's a stacks creature on the field or any creature that's threatening us. Dispel, counter target instant spell, and Unsubstantiate to return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. Next, we have some global effects that'll help us stay in the game longer. We have Flame Sweep. It deals 2 damage to each creature except for creatures you control with flying. So Malcolm's going to be safe, and every other creature on the field is going to get destroyed by Flame Sweep. Fiery Cannonade does the same thing, except for non-pirates. And we have Malcolm as a pirate and Glint-Horn Buccaneer. So that's a problem. You can just completely board wipe our opponents. In CEDH metagames, a lot of creatures are below 2 power, so it shouldn't be too hard to wipe the board in that aspect. We have Consuming Tide. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hands. Then you draw a card for each opponent who has more cards in their hand than you. So we're going to want to do this whenever our opponents are storming off on their turn. They have a million creatures or artifacts on the field, and you're going to be able to draw a lot of cards and set back your opponents hella far because you only have 1 creature on the field, which is Malcolm, and it's going to stay on the field. And maybe your treasures are going to get removed, but you're going to be consistently making them anyways. Then we have Narset. With our wheels paired, you're going to make your opponent scoop, because each opponent can draw more than 1 card each turn, and you're going to be able to wheel, and your opponents aren't going to be able to. And they're going to be left with an empty hand if you wheel with Narset out, and it just completely shuts them down. And then her -2 allows you to dig further into your deck. Next, we'll go into some basic ramp. There isn't too much because it is only $50, so we're going to be focusing on land drops and cantrips to be able to get lands out consistently and hopefully a ramp. We have Soul Ring, Talisman of Creativity, and Midnight Clock. It is 3 mana to do it, but it adds 1 blue, and then you can pay 3 to put an hour counter on it. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, put an hour counter on it. And then whenever the 12th hour counter is put on Midnight Clock, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. So if you're in a tough spot, you can play Midnight Clock and be able to wheel eventually down the line, or you can just discard it to one of your cantrips, or like some of your discard and draw spells. And then we have some interesting picks that are some of my favorite cards. We have Imposter Mech, which is relatively new. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's a vehicle artifact with crew 3 and loses all other card types. As you can tell, it doesn't say it loses other abilities. So if an opponent has Dockside, it can enter as a copy of Dockside, create a million treasures. Enter as a copy of like Dark Confidant, you can get a draw every turn. Enter a copy as who knows what. Timna, you can draw cards while attacking. Who knows what your opponents are playing. Legacy's Allure. During your upkeep, you may put a treasure counter on Legacy's Allure, and then you can sacrifice it to permanently gain control of target creature with no power greater than the number of treasure counters on Legacy's Allure. This is essentially a like $2 Gilded Drake. So, I mean, if you want to spend $200 or $500 or however much Gilded Drake is, you go ahead. But this is a $2 card that pretty much does the same thing. It just takes a few turns to get there. Since you have a ton of interaction, you should be able to last that amount of time to get to Legacy's Allure or those upkeep triggers to be able to gain control of a target creature that your opponents control. So it won't be that big of a problem. And it's really funny if you get it off. For a $50 budget deck, this is amazing, top tier. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you want to see anything new. Just let me know. And I'll see you guys next time.